House Chairperson, Mr. President, fellow members of Parliament and ladies and gentlemen. It is now 2019, 11 and a half years since the construction of the Medupi power plant started. It is now 2019, 10 and a half years since the construction of the Kusuli power plant started. And yet, the entire country was plunged into darkness with Eskom implementing a drastic stage 4 load shedding program just yesterday. 6 units have suddenly gone offline, which is absolutely unheard of. This has now been moved from just an Eskom problem to a national South African problem. All of South Africa will be affected by a collapsing Eskom, putting our entire economy and millions of jobs in jeopardy. It is now 2019 and South Africa is still experiencing rolling blackouts. Eskom still has a monopoly stranglehold over our country and its economy. We need to call this crisis what it is. This is no longer just load shedding. It is persistent rolling blackouts. It is killing our economy. These rolling blackouts affect every community, every business, and every municipality across the length and breadth of our beautiful country. And probably the most shocking of all, not one single person is behind bars for attempting to sell off our country piece by piece, despite all the charges, all the evidence, and all the commission of inquiries. The ANC's rejig of Eskom is simply not enough. The DA has long been calling for a complete overhaul of this dinosaur monopoly, which is killing our economy with power failures and electricity spike prices. The DA introduced the cheaper electricity bill, which will see Eskom split into 2 separate entities, a generation entity and a distribution transmission entity. The generation entity will be privatized over time to compete with other independent power producers on an equal footing. Well-functioning metros will be able to source electricity directly from independent electricity suppliers. It cannot be that South Africans have no choice as to who they purchase their electricity from. We have the right to choose our own service provider and the right to choose our own kind of electricity, be it wind, solar, gas, or coal. The notion that this will create job losses is a simple lie. By diversifying our energy market, we will create jobs, we will increase competition, and significantly drive down the electricity price. As South Africans, we simply cannot be held ransom to the tripartite alliance concerns of upsetting one another. We are a country in total crisis, and we have to act in crisis mode now. It is time to face the reality that South Africa may well have been exposed to state capture, but little to nothing has been done to hold those who fed the monster to account. In fact, the more people that are named in various inquiries, the more I look around Parliament and see those very people seated alongside me. What an embarrassment. What an indictment on everything we stand for. Madam Speaker, I am here today to ask the President not to send these criminals to Parliament, but to send them to jail. When last we met on this same forum, I asked the President to remove the then Minister of Public Enterprises, Lynn Brown. I, together with millions of South Africans, heaved a sigh of relief when he announced her removal. Little did we know that she was just the tip of a corrupt iceberg, and that we, the people of South Africa, were headed on a direct collision path with this iceberg. There is no longer any doubt that the tentacles of the state capture monster have reached all public enterprises, all state departments, and every level of government. State capture is a disease that has infected the entire nation. Thankfully, there is a cure. And Mr. President, it works fast and it is a prophylactic for future infection. It is called a jail sentence. We ask of the President, do not send these criminals to Parliament, send them to jail. Deputy Speaker, there is nothing quite like a witness in a box singing like a canary to get criminals worried. What we have witnessed at the Zondo Commission into state capture is nothing short of astounding. And I feel like I know my way around certain ministers' homes. We know what meat they enjoy, and more particularly, what their tipple of preference is. Mr. President, may I suggest that when these certain ministers who have a penchant for a certain brand of blended whiskey come knocking at your door seeking re-employment, you just tell them to keep walking. In these very benches sit ministers who are accused of literally accepting bags of corruption money. Now, one would think that when the designer house Louis Vuitton released the never full model of handbag, this crime and corruption was not the intended use of the bag. And we laugh, and we scoff, and we're shocked, but here sits the minister. The question now is, what exactly does it take to get arrested for corruption in South Africa? Mr. President, we ask you, do not send these people to Parliament, send them to jail. Our hopes now lie in the office of the National Director of Public Prosecutions, and we hope that the new head of the NPA takes her orders from the Constitution and the laws of the land, and never again from politicians or families flying in and out of Dubai. It simply cannot be that state capture was executed under the nose of the executive without every single one of the members knowing exactly what was happening. The new dawn is nothing more than the same old wine just being served to us in a brand new bottle. I have personally laid charges against the likes of Brian Molefe, Machele Coco, Trillion, SAP, Just Coal, McKinsey, the Bank of Baroda, the Gupta brothers, Duduzane Zuma, Jacob Zuma, and Minister Nomvula Mokonyane, and the list just goes on. We need to see some high-profile arrests. We need to see some assets being seized. And while we're at it, let's take away a few passports to ensure that no one can flee prosecution. Mr. President, let me tell you without doubt what the average South African will not mind having their tax money spent on. It is a new wing of the CMAX prison at Pretoria Central dedicated to those who tried to steal our country. Mr. President, on behalf of all South Africans, I actually beg of you, don't send them to Parliament. Send them to jail. I thank you.